Well, it's time for our children's message. So kids, gather around. There's a little game I want to teach you to play with your parents. And so my hope is that you've got handy maybe a story Bible or maybe just some other story book from your bookshelf. But you'll want to grab that because this is how the game works. You're going to flip through these pages, or maybe your parents will flip through the pages, and they'll land on a picture that maybe like this one, and they'll just hold up and show you the picture, and you'll look and study that picture and see what's happening in that picture. And then even if you can read, don't read the words, but see if you can't tell the story that goes with that picture. See what you might be able to remember. And even if you can't remember much, just look at the picture and see what kind of a story that tells. And then maybe you could trade spots, and maybe kids, you pick out a picture and then show that to your parents and see if they can tell you the story that goes with that picture. Or maybe they can make up a good story that goes with that picture. Now, the next part of this game, you need to go to your parents and ask to have them pick out 3 of their favorite pictures of you. See if they have some pictures that are their absolute favorite pictures of you. Maybe it's a picture when you were just a baby, or maybe it was just a picture from last week, something that was going on. They might even have some pictures right handy on their phones. And then I want them to show you those pictures, but to tell the story that goes along with each picture. Now, listen carefully to the story that they tell you about those pictures, because the next part of the game has them picking one of those same pictures, showing it to you, and having you repeat the story that they just told you. See if you can remember those stories. This is a really important game to play, to tell the stories from our history. That's something that happens in today's story, piece of the story that we get from the Bible. Stephen, one of Jesus' disciples who comes later to help build the church, well, he retells the stories to God's people, and he reminds them of all the ways that God's story runs in their background and in their past and leads to the moment that they live now. And it's important that we keep remembering the story. The stories that Stephen told were all about how God's love was unstoppable throughout all of the ages, and that God would always come and be a presence with God's people. Now, I'll bet if you listen carefully to the stories that your parents tell you about those pictures, their favorite pictures, you'll hear something similar. You'll hear a story that connects all of those. And it's a story about how much your parents love and are delighted by you, and the things that you have done, and the things that you are becoming. So, this is the game I want you to play today as a family. Tell stories to one another. Start with the stories from your story books or your story Bibles that you know, and then look at the stories from your own lives and keep telling those back and forth to each other. And that's how you'll be reminded every day of how much God loves you, just like your parents love you. Thanks for coming and listening to this story today.